So, a lot of people start a business hoping it's going to make their lives better. A lot of times it doesn't. It makes it worse. Life gets more complicated. They get distracted. They're not spending much time with their family. And honestly, most people didn't get into business to run a business. They got into business for other things. They didn't get into business because they wanted to look at financial statements and all that sort of thing and track inventory and track accounts receivable and track expenses. What they really wanted to do most of the time we see our clients or even prospective clients out in the business community is they really wanted to provide a service that was valuable. They wanted obviously to make a little bit money, more money than they could otherwise. But really what they're seriously thinking is they'd like to spend less time at work and make just the same amount of money that they're making now. But a lot of times that just doesn't work out. And so, you know, I want to go through a couple of things here about why a business sometimes is hard. Sometimes it's simple or it seems simple, but a lot of times it's not easy and it's hard. If you've ever experienced some of this stuff, you aren't sure, where your revenue is coming from. You're not sure where your most profitable items are. That can be a bit of a problem. Maybe your marketing is confusing, so customers pass you by. If you want to think about a website, maybe you've got plenty of traffic, but people are always bouncing off of your website and they really don't understand what's going on. It's confusing. They don't understand what you're doing. Maybe it's not really clear. In today's marketplace, it's important that you're able to communicate what you need effectively because attention spans are not what they used to be. We're bombarded with a lot of emails, billboard signs all the time, everybody's messages. So you don't have very much time to make that impression on your customers, your prospective customers. Maybe you don't feel like you sell. You kind of struggle with closing the deal. You kind of sell with that whole process and feel like you're a used car salesman. Instead of having a conversation with your customers, it really feels like you're trying to manipulate them, and that's not a great thing. Maybe your operations border on chaos. You're not sure, what the day is going to bring. You're not very well organized, and things are just chaotic and not systematized. You spend thousands of dollars on outside consultants, or you spend a lot of time reading books and listen to podcasts, looking on TikTok, trying to get answers, and nothing seems to work. You create products that are in demand, but you're not sure if they're profitable or not. They seem to be flying off the shelf, but nobody, but it doesn't reflect that on the bottom line. Reminds me of a story. We had a client about 10 years ago, so their revenues were increasing by about 40% a year, but their bottom line wasn't changing. And matter of fact, they were struggling still to make payroll every couple of weeks. It was a real problem 2 months out of the year because they've got three payrolls. So it's really kind of interesting that doesn't necessarily follow a lot of times that your revenues go up, but your bottom line either stays the same or goes backwards. Maybe you live in fear that you're going to run out of money, and that's a real problem too. You're not sure if you're going to make payroll, as I said earlier, or you're not going to pay all your bills on time. If you wanted your business to grow, you've got to really professionalize that business. You've got to have systems and processes internal. But think of your computer too. It's got an operating system. Your business needs an operating system too. It needs to be organized so that way, you can, well, when you go to sell it, you're going to sell somebody that has a systems and a turnkey system as opposed to selling a job. Nobody wants to buy a job, but it's going to, in the interim, it'll make your job a lot easier because it'll be organized. You won't have to spend much time doing it. You're going to have a better time attracting people. So let's go through some of the problems if you don't systematize your business. You're going to continue to live in constant stress, constant fear, constant chaos because things just aren't going the way that you plan them to, and it's not very predictable. You can't accurately predict where your financial future is. You don't know when your revenue is going to come in. You're not sure how that's going to happen, and you're just not sure every single month if you're going to make it or not. Maybe you are trying to hire more people and you're trying to hire really good people in your system in your business, and you can't do that if they're coming into a mess. If they're coming into chaos, it's going to be hard for anybody to go, yeah, I want to work for that guy because they're a mess right now. Maybe your customers will trust you, and that's because you don't have consistency in what you're offering them. Your quality of your services, maybe the quality of your products is inconsistent, and so they don't know month to month every time they meet you what they're going to get. Think about McDonald's. McDonald's is always held up on a pedestal because they've got great systems inside of their business. Maybe they don't have great food, but you always consistently know what they're going to offer. If you didn't know from McDonald's in Dubuque versus Phoenix versus Flagstaff what you were going to receive, it'd be a lot less predictable as far as whether you would stop there with your kids or not. Your team is going to lose respect for you. Things continue to change all the time, and there's not any consistency. And your business is going to be devalued again on the open market. Nobody wants to buy a job. You're going to get a much higher value for your business at the end of the day when you try to sell it. If you've got a system in place and it's very predictable, got predictable cash flow, it makes it much easier to talk about what the value of the business is. So the problem with installing these business operating systems that I'm talking about is that they can be cumbersome. They're going to be time consuming, as the slide says. It's also going to be very, very expensive, but it doesn't have to be. We're going to break it down into 6 easy steps today, 6 easy components of your business. And we're going to use the analogy of an airplane. You've got a nice little cockpit there, and that's where you want to stand. You want to be able to predict where your plane is going to be headed, which direction you're going to go, and how you're going to get there. So the basic parts of an airplane, there are 6 of them. You've got the leadership or cocktail part of it. You've got the marketing, products, management, operations, and then you've got sales. So you've got marketing and sales that run the engines that kind of give you lift. Cockpit steers you where you're going. Your products are your wings. Operations is that fuselage piece. And of course, at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about cash flow.